This is going to be an Ask a Special Education Attorney public service announcement. Like I've been banned on Facebook by their little, ministers of truth bots that and whoever else, has declared themselves the arbiters of what, can be spoken and what can be written and what can be discussed. And I don't live in that world, guys. I'm a civil rights attorney. We should have a free flow of information, whether we agree with it or not. It is so incredibly dangerous in a society to stifle free speech. And that is exactly what's going on in this country. And it's been going on for more than a few years. It's only been exacerbated by the advent of social media and these big tech companies that are tailoring messages toward one ideology, and toward a collective viewpoint that they agree with. And quite frankly, I will not tolerate that. Just as a historian myself, prior to going to law school, and also an avid, still passionate about history and current events, politics, things of that nature. There isn't an instance in history, as an example, that ever ended good for society that stifled free speech. It's exactly why it's one of our First Amendments. It is a right as humans that we, with our first breath, are entitled to. I don't need permission from a government. I don't need permission from a group to speak freely. That is how we correct society's problems, is by bringing up those things that might make you uncomfortable as a majority position. And as a majority position, there must be those that scrutinize the choices and the decisions of the majority. We find ourselves, myself included, we find ourselves as part of a majority all the time, as far as a majority position. Now, when I'm talking about minority majority, I'm not talking about ethnicity, religion, gender, race. I'm not talking about that, because there's many instances to where a majority can include a racial minority or a gender minority, so to speak. I'm talking about a majority position, okay, where whatever the decision is by that group, whatever it composes of, that majority position will undoubtedly not think through all of their decisions. And I always look to see how those decisions impact those that don't have a voice, are vulnerable, that are in the minority. That's what I think about. I might even agree with the majority position, but we can always improve. We can always do things better. So it's perfectly okay to scrutinize a majority position. It is perfectly acceptable. In fact, guys, it is critical during times of war, during times of danger and concerns of safety, because that's when the mob, that's when people's fear and their collective fear starts really abusing people. And I'm talking, this is where genocides happen. This is where absolute acts of discrimination and abuse and aggression and violence occur, is within that collective, where war and fear become the driving force behind a majority position. We're in that right now with this pandemic, guys. There is a lot of you that are on the side of wrong, that believe that there should be mandates, that believe that people should be forcibly removed from their jobs and forcibly removed from activities and access within our society if they do not comply with your wishes or the demands of that majority position. And as time has gone on since March of 2020, guys, I have not been wrong in my consistent position that is wrong. That is wrong. And as more scientific information and data comes about, guys, we've abandoned science. They just sort of make decisions as they please now. And some of you are still on board with that. And I got banned for 7 days from Facebook for pointing that out. All I did was point out in an article in my Ask a Special Education Attorney group was the unscientific changes that the CDC made from a 10-day quarantine to a 5-day. At the end of the 5-day, you don't need to test. You don't have to test to confirm that you no longer are positive for COVID. Why is that? Because they finally admitted that PCR tests for 12 weeks can continue to show up as positive. They're allowing people that are positive COVID to stay on their jobs. But yet we've fired so many healthcare workers and doctors in this country because they chose not to participate in the injections. Didn't mean they were positive. Didn't mean that there was anything wrong. Didn't mean they were unhealthy. Didn't mean that they put anybody at risk. It just meant that they made a conscious decision for themselves. But yet now, making very unscientific decisions. Cutting a quarantine. No need to prove that you're no longer symptomatic or asymptomatic. You just go back to work. Vaccinated spread as much as unvaccinated. These rules are insane, and it's getting more insane. And I'm telling you, if that is enough for me to get banned for 7 days, then I don't need to be on this platform. And I'm going to continue to be on the platform, obviously, because everybody's on it. But what I'm going to tell you is that there are free speech platforms out there that I have signed up for. Ask a Special Education Attorney now is on GETTR, GETTR. GETTR. So it's a free speech platform, social media platform, very easy to navigate. But that is where I'm going to be posting the truth, guys, and the scrutiny that our society and that majority position deserves and requires. I'm not trying to sit there and change your mind. That's up to you. But you need to hear everything. You need to understand everything that's out there. That is my job. Whether or not you want to agree with me or not, absolutely you're right. I'm not wrong. I'm confident in the research that I've done, and I'm confident before I ever open my mouth professionally that what I am saying and what I am putting out there is legitimate. I am there to scrutinize the decisions of power. That is why I represent your children. I speak truth to power. They may not like it. They don't like it. I get banned because of it. So therefore, those things are going to be on the Ask a Special Education Attorney page that is on GETTR, GETTR. Open an account. It's free. Follow the page. That's where that will be. I will post and Ask a Special Ed Attorney on Facebook and on YouTube, directing people over when there is information that is on there that are ministers of truth and falsehood within Facebook and YouTube and everything else, and Twitter. I don't even use Twitter because that's an insane platform. I just, at some point, guys, we've got to make a decision in this country whether we respect free speech, whether we are going to tolerate those things that we don't appreciate, we don't want to hear. There's a lot of nonsense that is out there in the world. I tolerate it because you have a right to say it. Doesn't mean that I have to agree with it, and I will fight tooth and nail to prevent you or anyone else that has wackadoo ideas from being in a position of authority to sit there and exact damage upon the rest of us. Doesn't mean you don't have a right to sit there and spat off your wackadoo ideas. Okay? Some of you may think I have wackadoo ideas. Could care less. This is not a popularity contest, guys. But we need all the information. You need to rationally think about what's going on around you. This is the most critical time. And if you're an adult with children, then you have a heightened sense of responsibility to them. We are failing this generation and the younger generations. We are the adults now. We're the ones making the decisions. We can no longer sit there and say that prior generations are the ones that screwed things up. We can either improve things or we can make it worse and exacerbate it. I will not do that. So if I am an obstacle in the way of that, then fine. I'll find another avenue. And that's what we're doing with GETTR, GETTR. And I welcome all of you there that are free-thinking, freedom-loving, and liberty-loving individuals. Doesn't mean you have to agree with me. Doesn't mean that you have to sit there and agree with me on my position on these current emergency use authorized injections or PCR tests or masks. You don't have to agree with me, guys. To sit there and understand that all information is necessary. We cannot have one viewpoint and think that we're going to be a civil and maintain ourselves as a free people. That's impossible. A majority position cannot dominate every other minority viewpoint. The truth is sprinkled all over the place. And we need those things to correct any mistakes that are being made by a majority position. Freedom, people. Liberty. Free speech.